Welcome to From the AD's View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. On today's show, we're going to talk about sports, education, entertainment, family, and faith, and how those things collectively or separately can impact our lives. Let's get it. Welcome back to the show. Before we bring on tonight's guest, I want to give honor to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who's ahead of my life, because without him, nothing that I do would be possible. Nothing as a father on Father's Day, nothing as a husband, nothing as an administrator in athletics, anything. So I want to do that first and foremost. If you missed last week's show, we had one of my dear friends and colleagues, Dr. Timothy Felton, on the show last week. And Dr. Felton gave us some great insight into youth in athletics, coaching. He shared the books that he's authored on those various topics. He also mentioned a collaboration and a new adventure that he would be a part of. Tonight on From the AD's View, I am proud to announce the new company launch of Kings of Sports, LLC. And just a little bit about that. It truly is a divine collaboration. And if you can go to previous episodes, you'll see that. What we are going to be doing, myself, Dr. Timothy Felton, Mr. Bodine Sanders, and Dr. AJ Anderson. It is a blessing to work with these three thought leaders in sport management and in intercollegiate athletics. And we're just going to share our journeys with young and old around the country. We're going to share our stories, our testimonies, and hopefully we give some nuggets to those wanting to have careers in sport and intercollegiate athletics, and so that we can be a blessing and a help to others. Our website is currently under construction, and when it comes live, be sure to look for Kings of Sports coming to a city near you. If you weren't able to catch any episode, don't worry. You can catch previous episodes on From the AD's View on my LinkedIn page, which is Cedric M. Brown, PhD, on my LinkedIn page. Now, enough about me. We have an outstanding and amazing guest on today's show. This young lady is currently the president and co-founder of Profile Nourishment, LLC. She's a former acting, interim, and associate director of athletics at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. She's a former director of championships and business operations and senior women's administrator in the Patriot League, and currently a working activist for improving Title IX compliance in athletics and mental health services for student athletes. Darlene Gordon, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel blessed to be in this room with you and to celebrate Father's Day with you. I'm really very honored. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, Darlene, you are, and as I researched you, you are a thought leader in this industry yourself. You are a pioneer for women in this business, the things that you're doing, the work that you're doing with your organization. And, before I really delved, into who Miss Darlene Gordon was, I didn't know. I mean, Miss Darlene, your resume, I can say you're a rock star with your resume. You're doing something for others. People are standing on your shoulders. So I commend you for the work that you're doing. And speaking of, Miss Darlene, the work that you're doing, um, when we spoke, you wanted to, speak about some topics that were kind of near and dear to you, and they're near and dear to me too because I'm a girl dad.
Okay.
Um, our
Okay.
first topic that we're going to talk about is women in sport.
Uh,
As I hope many people know, that last year was the 50th anniversary of Title IX, June 23rd, 1972, right? And then also their Equal Pay Act currently celebrating its 60th year, June 10th, 1963. Can you tell me from your experience, Ms. Darlene, what the significance of those two dates and those events are for women and for sport and intercollegiate athletics?
oh, absolutely. And, thank you for such a gracious introduction, first of all. Um, and like I said earlier, I feel blessed to be here. And those two topics are extremely dear to me because, number one, with Title IX, it opened the door for lots of women to be able to participate in sport. I mean, Title IX, a portion of it is athletics. The other portion is really about education. And you and myself and many athletic administrators out there, that's extremely important to all of us. And it's important, should be important to our professors and so on, because there was a time there were women didn't get that same kind of access to the educational pieces uh, at our colleges and universities. And in addition, they also didn't get the access to the sport. And we both know how important both of those um, ingredients are into creating great human beings.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so, for me, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. But I will say this, there's lots more work to be done.
Sure. It's not a one-off thing, right? It's like when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Institutions and individuals can sometimes think that, well, we've had this training, we had this webinar, we had this seminar, and it's done and it's over with. And we couldn't be any more wrong, right? Because let's go back just 2 years ago, Miss Darlene, when the NCAA was going on, the tournament was going on, right? And so often we forget that there's two tournaments going on that weekend, correct? There's two tournaments.
That's right.
And and again, I say I'm a girl dad. I'm a girl dad. And to see that a organization that I have been affiliated with, because I'm a 20-year member of the National Association of Basketball Coaches, to be affiliated with the NCAA and to have them have such a horrible representation of our women's NCAA tournament with barely having weights in the weight for the young women to use, barely having nutrition or nutrients or sustenance for them to have. But on the men's side, everything was great. Um, Ms. Arlene, how, when you look at the success that the NCAA women had this year, right? After they put money into them, after they, put more advertising and marketing into them, they had the highest viewer rate. 9.9 million people watched. What's your reaction to that, Ms. Darlene?
Well, number one, that was like their average. They had at their peak 14 million viewers.
Yes, ma'am.
So, what that says to me is one of the things that I like to say in terms of a seat at the table, one of the things that I think scares people when you say we want a seat at the table, they think about the actual dimensions of the table. And it's like, okay, it can only be four people at this table. How we're going to make the table allow you to sit at the table because there's only four seats. What we need to do is build a bigger table
Add some leaves
because
to that table, right?
Yeah, we need to add some leaps because, one of the things that I like saying to our student athletes, because I am a Christian,
Yes, ma'am.
female, I am a Black female, I am a wife and a mother. So when I look at those student athletes, I know that they're gifts. That's number one. God, God created them as a gift to their parents.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so that didn't change when they came on campus, that they're no longer gifts anymore. There is no expiration date on gifts. And so if that is the case, we need to function that way. There's no expiration date on you being a gift or myself.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we need to do better. And if you imagine with all these gifts, if we can put all these gifts at the table, we need to put a bigger table together.
Yes, ma'am.
Because if you think about that, all the gifts at the table, could you imagine what kind of productivity, what kind of riches, what kind of changes we can make if we unite like that and respect the gifts each person can bring to the table?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
That's
That's the big piece of it.
yeah,
And so another thing that you talk about also, Ms. Darlene, and women in sport is wellness in the industry, right? And how that can impact or affect what and how the leadership looks like. Can you expound on that a little bit?
sure. One of the reasons I decided to start Profile Nourishment is for that very reason. There is no way I'm ever going to completely stop athletics because that's where my heart is. But Profile Nourishment is something that is also near and dear to me because it's about creating a profile of your own nourishment.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about all of us as athletic administrators, there are reasons sometimes our women administrators leave the business. Sometimes it's because they get married. That doesn't happen to our male colleagues. They have children. That doesn't happen to our male colleagues. They have to leave because of that.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is it that we're doing to not create a nurturing environment for our female athletic administrators? And quite frankly, if you don't take care of them, you're really not taking care of our student athletes, because how can they advocate and fix problems when they're under the thumb as well?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And that is so important that, even with we have senior women's administrators, which is so important because our women athletes need to see individuals that represent them in gender, represent them, that look like them. If we have persons of color in those positions for the largely represented population of student athletes in certain sports, men's and women's, basketball and football, those are represented more by persons of color. And so having somebody that you can go to and talk to and that they can relate to what you're going through, whether you have the men that can relate to the men, but having a woman that is in intercollegiate athletics being able to relate to a woman that either went through it or can, help them navigate those situations is so important. So you are so very correct in that. Ms. Darlene, stay with us, right? We have a lot more to talk about right after we have this break. So you're watching From the AD's View with your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. We will be right back after this break.
Awesome.
Renting is everything. It's style at your doorstep. off the runway, and into your closet. It's every trend you've been dying to try, and every designer you've yet to discover. It's wearing it your way every time, and making it count everywhere you go. It's never worrying about what to wear, because something new is always coming your way. That's why renting is everything. New styles, top designers, all for a flat monthly fee. Start your subscription at renttherunway.com.
Slow roasted over hickory fire and pulled by hand. This is the way pit pork has always been done. Pulled pork lovers, rejoice. The smoky old days are back at the Smoke Shack. From the creative team that brought you The Browning Project and Dead by Morning comes a new thriller that will change the way you look at white-collar crime forever. Falling from the Sky.
Water. It's everywhere. We drink it, we bathe with it, we cook with it. Coffee's made with water. Toilets won't flush without it. It's used for washing clothes, dishes, utensils, pots, pans, floors, and our teeth. Plants and crops need water, animals drink it, and fish need it too. And don't forget, we can have a lot of fun in the water. Water. What would we do without it?
I'm Leon Thomas with the Leon Thomas Group. Podcast, virtual events, webinars, streaming shows, and so much more. We want to be your partner in all things virtual.
What do you call an elephant that doesn't matter? What? An irrelevant.
How does the moon cut his hair? Eclipse it.
I was addicted to the hokey pokey, but I turned myself around.
What did the plate say to the other plate? What? Dinner's on me.
What kind of tree fits in your hand?
What?
A palm tree.
And welcome back to From the AD's View. I hope you enjoyed the little entertainment, the dad jokes on Father's Day. It is June 18th, and it is Father's Day. And I'd like to wish all the fathers out there a wonderful and a blessed Father's Day. My father, Sherrod Brown, I'd like to wish him a Father's Day, a happy Father's Day. I'd also like to wish my late father-in-law, beloved Jim Fears, a heavenly Father's Day. Jim left us too early, and he is beloved and he is missed. And I'd also like to wish my brothers, Waymond, Eugene, and Montel, all happy Father's Day. Be sure to watch us each Sunday evening at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. If you'd like to connect with me, you can reach me on my Instagram at From the AD's View. Now let's bring back Miss Darlene Gordon. Miss
Hello.
Darlene, how are you? And I would be remiss if I didn't allow you to wish those in your life a happy Father's Day. You don't have to mention their names if you don't want to, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to wish your family happy Father's Day.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for giving me that opportunity. First and foremost, I want to wish my husband a happy Father's Day. We have two beautiful children together, and he's my king for sure. I also would like to wish my father happy Father's Day, Simon McNeil. Happy Father's Day, Dad. Love you.
Yes, ma'am. And so as we were talking about very relevant um, opportunities in sport, Title IX being in its 50th last year, and Equal Pay Act celebrating its 60th June 10th. There's something that happened in sports a couple of weeks ago that is so significant. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Becky Hammon is the Las Vegas Aces coach, and she was being considered for the Toronto Raptors job. She was assistant coach with Greg Popovich. She won the WNBA championship last year. Several women are now in high-level roles in the NBA. What are your thoughts on things like that? Because you and I both know that Becky is very capable of doing the job. What are some of your thoughts about that?
Well, before I comment on that, you made a really good point about being able to see athletic administrators that look like you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just wanted to add one thing to that. And I think and I don't want to lose this point. And the point
Sure.
is, it's good for males to see women in high roles as well.
Yes,
One of
ma'am.
the best examples I can give is with my son. My son, maybe when he was about, I want to say 6 or 7 years old, we enrolled him in recreation basketball. And they split the kids up into teams, and his coach was a female coach. And that just threw him for a loop. He was like, he could not even fathom that is the case. And it took him a while to really get used to it. And this is a 7-year-old. Like, are you kidding me? But
Yes,
it took
ma'am.
a while to get used to it. And at this moment in his life, he's a college grad and absolutely understands that women can do whatever it is that they put their minds to. But what was important is that he saw them in the role to really see that was possible. So it's not only good for our female student athletes to see the senior woman administrator or a female AD. It's important for them to see it, no question. But their male counterparts need to see it too, because
Yes,
they
ma'am.
need to know and get with the fact that they may have a female supervisor and how they're going to do
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is so important. And
it.
so in that, there are several women in high level roles in the NBA. What are your thoughts about that, Ms. Darlene?
Well, to me, it goes back to the example that I gave. It's really important, if she has the ability, and we know Becky does, if she has the wherewithal, the experience, all of that, she can do it. It's about having access and opportunity. And so that's what really needs to happen. It needs to happen. I remember years and years ago when I was a kid, they didn't have female broadcasters. And then when they finally brought them in, your ear wasn't used to hearing a woman call football.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
now it's normal.
It is.
It's very normal.
It
We
is.
there in other areas. We can get there.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And so you are the president and the co-founder of Profile Nourishment LLC. Can you briefly give us an overview, your goals of the company, and then we have some photos, Ms. Darlene, that they will show as you're talking after you give your goals, because you have a fundraising campaign with Profile Nourishment. Can you give us a little bit about that, please?
Absolutely. So Profile Nourishment is starting off as a natural skincare company. We have 3 products that we have vetted and decided these were the ones that we were going to go forward with. There is a natural moisturizer, facial moisturizer, there's a cleanser, and then there's a hydrating mask, all made with natural products and natural preservatives, because even when you're working with natural products, you got to have something that can give it some shelf life.
Yes, ma'am.
So the shelf life on our products are not going to be forever and a day. They range between 12 months and 24 months is the
Okay.
shelf life. And it's because we're using natural, high quality products. And the other 2 co-founders, I know them very well. One is my son. He's doing the marketing for my organization. And my daughter, she is our product development person. So with my son, he actually followed in my footsteps in terms of sports. And so his degree is in sport leadership and administration. And then my daughter, she has a biology degree from East Stroudsburg University. And so she's using that degree, working to develop different medications for treating cancer. So she deals with
Okay.
cancer. And so she's in the role for product development because she can speak the language with the other chemists that work on our products.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm really proud and excited about that.
And so, as our producers show some of the photos that you sent us, can you talk to the photos here and tell the viewers what they are?
Sure. So last year I had the opportunity to be on this panel that you see. It's the Northeast Ohio's Women's Sports Alliance, and they were celebrating Title IX. So I got a chance to be on this panel with some really great other panelists to talk about, the wonderful things about Title IX, but also the things that really need to change. And part of that has everything to do with access. Women of color have a lot less access than their white counterparts.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's something that really has to change. In addition to that, then you think about women who have disabilities. They have even fewer access to athletic opportunities.
Yes, ma'am.
But
And
it's not.
they'll go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so that's really important. And so again, these are the ladies that I was with on that panel. And it was an exciting time to be on that panel because we had some really great people in that audience. And one of the things that came out of me sitting on that panel was Senator Nikki Antonio. She's a state senator from Ohio.
Hmm.
I got a chance to work with her because during that time frame, they were asking for feedback to the Title IX legislation because they wanted to be able to update some of the language. So
Yes,
I
ma'am.
worked with Senator Antonio on getting language for that. This picture here, really very honored to be in that picture with these 3 young ladies. We were at an event for Austin Woman magazine. And I'm really happy to say I will be in the Austin Women's Magazine this coming July, talking about my favorite subject, which is Title IX and giving women in sport access. So I will be on in the article in July on Women's Austin Women's Magazine.
Well, congratulations. And
Thank you.
here?
Here, this was a panel I was on at UMass Boston. It was Women of Color in Sport. And these are some fabulous women. I had Alexis, who was at Harvard University. She was, I believe, a deputy AD at Harvard. And then we have Portia, who is in the white sweater. She's actually a VP at Reebok
Okay.
currently. So
Heavy hitters,
we
powerful.
had some really heavy hitters on that panel, and I was really very honored to be on that panel. I was interim AD at the time at UMass Boston.
Yes, ma'am. And here?
Here, I thought it was, again, really important to bring this into focus because the anniversary was just a few days ago on June 10th
Yes, ma'am.
for having Equal Pay Act. And the interesting thing is that it's actually older than Title IX. And it is the fact that we are still fighting this fight for equal pay is phenomenal. And so I think, it's really important that our allies really kind of help us push this fight forward, because it is an act that should be honored and dealt with. And it's not for our coaches, it's not for our administrators, and then in the professional ranks, it's not for our females athletes.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you think about those kind of things, and I got the opportunity to actually put together a spreadsheet when I was at UMass Boston, and we worked with some attorneys, because what we were trying to do is to make sure that there was a level playing field for women in athletics, that they were getting paid appropriately based on their skill level. So we came up with a matrix to figure out, how do we grade those things so that we are not behind. And so that's kudos to UMass Boston and the entire UMass system.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it wasn't just us, it was the entire UMass system that underwent this exercise. And I think it's really important.
And if you have that information at any given time, Ms. Darlene, I'd love to share that with you, to share that with me so that I could share it out with my colleagues at the institution that I'm at. And the QR code here, can you explain the QR code?
Sure. So the QR code is actually for my business. We just launched Profile Nourishment in April of this year. We're working with a marketing company. Our website is under construction. We have figured out our products and worked with the chemists to kind of get that together. But putting together a skincare company is extremely expensive, and we have some capital. But one of the things that we thought would be really important is to fundraise. So the
Yes,
QR
ma'am.
code there is the fact that we're fundraising for the company, and we have a $35,000 goal. And we want it to be an interactive experience between those who want to support creating a profile for your nourishment. We want the company to grow into not only skincare, but to be kind of the Martha Stewart of figuring out what your components need to be to take care of yourself. So we want to partner with wellness companies that can help with mental health, that can help with nutrition, because I just firmly believe we can put together some beautiful products, natural products. But if you are not taking care of yourself, I don't care whose products you're putting on, they're not going to do and give you the benefit that you're looking for to have a more vibrant life.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that's really what I want to be able to turn this company into. And we're just starting with skincare.
Yes, ma'am. And everything that you have have shared with us, Ms. Darlene, is can be attributed to wanting to better or give people better opportunities, more access, um, uh, better lifestyles, hopefully longer lifestyles, right? With wellness and nutrition. One part of the dimensions of wellness that makes a holistic person is spiritualness and or faith, right? So one of the final questions that I always ask my guests is this: how has faith or spiritualness impacted Darlene Gordon?
Well, it's where I put my leadership skills at. It's wow. I mean, Moses, his father-in-law told him, he said, "Look, you're going to get worn out by the people unless you put together a structure to help you lead." And that structure had everything to do with putting people in place to deal with different areas and functions of all the things you oversee.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that's how, excuse me, that's how I lead. He also talks about you need to care for the people that you oversee. So that's why I'm extremely passionate about how do we help women in sport. And I believe helping women in sport will also help our male counterparts in sports. And
Yes, ma'am.
so if we're doing those types of things, we're making it better for our student athlete. And so that's kind of how I like to function. It's really important for me to care for those who I oversee, which means I need to make sure they have resources. I need to make sure they're paid appropriately. I need to make sure when we're talking about mental health, have we spread them too thin that they can't function? All those things are really important for me. And you'll see that, I guess, in my resume, because that's, I put together mental health programs for our student athletes that not only affected them, but also affected our coaches, gave them more accessibility to mental health resources. And then I brought the campus in as well. So those,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
mean, important.
Yes, ma'am. So, if people want to get in contact with you, Ms. Darlene, how can they do that?
So you can reach out to me through my email address. My email address is darlene.gordon@profilenourishment.com.
Yes, ma'am. So it's Darlene.Gordon at profilenourishment.com.
That is correct.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
That is correct. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Any of those platforms, you can reach out to me as well.
Yes, ma'am. So, Ms. Darlene, it's been a pleasure to have this conversation with you and to get some of the thought nuggets that you've shared with us. And again, if you haven't had an opportunity to meet Darlene Gordon, please go on her LinkedIn page, which is Darlene Gordon, or like you said on her email with the Profile Nourishment Corporation that she is the president and co-founder of. But Ms. Darlene, I thank you so much for being a guest on the show tonight. It won't be the last time because I know once you get Profile Nourishment up and running, I'm going to bring you back on the show so we can talk about that. But I am very honored to have you on the show this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. You have a
Yes,
wonderful,
ma'am.
and I appreciate you letting me be here.
You as well. I'd like to thank today's guest, Ms. Darlene Gordon, for being on the show. Don't forget that we are here each Sunday evening at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern, for more open and honest discussions from the AD's view. Good night and God bless.